Education. America's school system has been stuck inside the same structure, but that world has begun to change. By embracing the best ideas from a myriad of disciplines, we are transforming the shape of education. Welcome to MASH Ed Up. Reimagine education.
It's the end of a very long week. I'm sitting in the 30th row of a 747 from Dallas to Los Angeles. The captain has signaled our final descent. My seat back has returned to the upright position. My tray table has been stowed. I'm finally going home, when a gurgle under my seat buckle tells me that lunch is gearing up for a second appearance. A frantic search teaches me that Delta Airlines doesn't regularly restock seat pockets with sick bags. So I do the only logical thing I can think of and try to MacGyver my Sky Mall catalog into a makeshift haversack. But before I can crease the outside edge, my body betrays me, which means that I'm sitting there, wearing my stomach acid as a loose tuxedo, while the entire plane, including the hot girls across the aisle, whisper and gag, necks craned as we make our torturous descent into LAX, and then as the entire jumbo jet deplanes slowly around me. A thought crosses my mind. How do you not restock a plane with sick bags, you incompetent airlines? I'm giving my plastic wings back! And then a second thought crosses my mind. I think this story's good enough for Cosmo. So lucky me for the life experience. Lucky no one I know will ever have to find out about this. Lucky the plane didn't crash. Lucky for planes in the first place. I mean, if I'd thrown up on myself in a covered wagon, some settler would have been all like, hey, we broke a spoke a mile back, and if you don't quit sulking and help push, you might not be able to ford this river before nightfall, in which case you're going to smell mighty good to the grizzlies. So lucky the atmosphere puts planes on its back. The air's so thick it bumps against our ears, that's how we hear. Lucky there's so much carbon around. Lucky for granite. Granite has done big things for us. Lucky conditions on this planet were perfect for Life Cocktail to turn a couple of atoms into an amoeba, into a cheetah. Lucky that one monkey finally got his act together and turned into a dude. Don't forget the vocal cords, the lungs. Lucky the opposable thumbs, the disposable mans, the glands that make lanolin and lambs, dismantled ham radios, and bands that make videos for jams that are witty odes to brands. And lucky for that one reunion on Cape Cod where I first began to understand my father's side of the family. Some say if you listen close in those old wooden hallways, you can hear the ghost of Woody Allen groaning at night. I'm not dead yet, you schmucks. The living. They gather around the dining room table, sharing, showing class, saying, lucky, lucky, lucky my ass. You call this lox? Fresh water, salt water? Neither, you lie. The salmon's so dry it must be the kind that they catch in the sky. Oh, Stephen's health? Well, yes, they removed a tumor. However, that was the cancer's tumor. Yeah, cancers can grow tumors too, smart guy. Dr. Rubin removed the cancer's tumor. The original cancer is now malignant in the skin cell. They couldn't tell his mole because his vitiligo stole the pigment. He looked like an albino with 3 shoulders. He tried to dye himself back to normal in a bathtub of Coca-Cola, but now he's got dementia and he thinks he's Al Roker. Oi, a Schwarze and a Goy, but hey, I can't complain. He's better than Roker at forecasting rain. That's how they always end the story of my family. With I can't complain. Grandma, you just complained for 45 straight minutes without breathing or blinking. The nice girl's trying to take our drink order. If I could get a word in edgewise, I'd say lucky the stomach flu. Lucky that 2-month itch I'd rather not talk about. Lucky, because perfectly healthy is not a neutral state. Perfectly healthy is perpetual full-body euphoria, but this is my father's family, and my complaining about their complaining is both concrete proof that I'm one of them and an unfair generalization of a proud people. Take my dad. You know, luckily, he never caught a zip gun ricochet to the face, but if you lean in close, you can see a little blue dimple on his chin from 4th grade, sometime in the 1950s when, trying to figure out how to get ink into a ballpoint pen, he accidentally slammed the Bic into his jaw, tattooing himself for life. And lucky he did, because that wasn't a ballpoint pen at all. It was a flagpole. 10-year-old Paul Norman Watsky was claiming that little patch of skin for himself and has held his ground even as this unfamiliar man creeps up on 70 around him. I can see it in my dad's eyes every time he laughs at one of his own idiotic puns. Every time he laments the overbearing Jewish mother that made him want to tip out of his Manhattan apartment window like a potted plant. And lucky he backed away from the edge, and not lucky just because his reproductive equipment was the genetic key to my eventual existence, but also because smiles are delinquent teenagers. They like to gather in large groups. They leave marks on the walls of your face to tell you of a life well lived. They're hard to get rid of, but once they're gone, you wonder why you've pushed them away. You wander into their dusty old rooms at night, hold back tears at the edge of their bed, and sit there rocking back and forth, thinking lucky the bend in your box spring that sent two strong swimmers into the world as decent sons. So lucky San Francisco. Lucky the lights over the harbor. Lucky we're so young. Both of us, Dad, because time is like a million-mile wooden dock, and we're at the very end. The very young end, we're practically dangling our toes in the water. Even if you're 100 years old, you're still dangling. And you'll shoot back, you're damn right I'm dangling. In all the wrong places. You're completely missing my point. Because I just vomited in my lap in an overbooked jumbo jet, sitting here smelling extremely human. But I still have my feet on the ground. So lucky we're not livestock. Lucky we're programmed to think babies are cute. Otherwise, we'd probably ignore them and they'd crawl aimlessly in large packs. America is a plump kid in husky overalls, and I plan to live off the fat of the land. This country is a big cupcake straddling two oceans, and lucky it wasn't me and you and someone had to fight and die so we could rot our teeth on the frosting. This planet is made mostly of carbon and Teflon, and someday we'll slide off it like so much burnt stir fry. There's a lot that goes into a moss-covered rock. We're lucky that there's so many cool bugs under them, and it sucks that we eat a few by mistake at night, but at least we don't crawl into spiders' mouths while we're sleeping. A web of impossible coincidences has crystallized into this moment. Look around you. History is afoot. This night smells like no other ever has or ever quite will. So don't hold your nose when you walk past me. I just martyred myself to give everyone on this plane an amusing party story. So you better thank those lucky stars. All 300 billion of them. Lucky you. Lucky me. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you very much. So I'm not a teacher, and I'm not an educator in the sense that I'm not a classroom educator, I don't get paid for it. So I'm gonna talk to you as someone who was educated and someone who was mentored, I think very effectively for pretty much my education process. I grew up in San Francisco. I went to Buena Vista Elementary, Alamo Elementary, Presidio Middle School, and then University High School. So I was in the public school system for the first 9 years. Then I went to an independent school for high school. And the whole way I had really wonderful teachers in both the public school and the private school system. I felt very lucky to have been able to see both ends of it. And I think it's what made me who I am today. I'm a full-time artist. I graduated college in May, last May. And so I tour colleges doing spoken word poetry. And I feel very lucky to be able to do that, and I think it's kind of the converging circumstances of every aspect of the positive reinforcement I had growing up that allowed me to really be able to do it. So what I'm gonna do in my remaining time, I'm gonna close with a poem in a little bit, but I'm just gonna tell a few stories, because I don't have a dogmatic philosophy to tell you, this is the one log line to the way I believe that folks should live their life. I'm younger than most of you, but I'm old enough to be able to reflect on some of the stories that got me to where I'm at, and I feel very lucky to be where I'm at. So the first thing that I want to talk about happened in 8th grade, and the bullet point that it underscores to me is to pick your moments wisely. When I was in 8th grade at Presidio Middle School, I was kind of like a problem student, and I would often act out, and I would often be the loud kid. And there was a particular moment at the end of 8th grade. We were about to go into spring break. It was the last day before everyone leaves for spring break. And I had this boombox that I carried everywhere I went. I'd gotten it for Christmas that year, and the CD, the record that was really hot that year was by an artist named Nelly. I don't know Most of you probably are familiar with Nelly. There's a song called Ride With Me that I was obsessed with, and I played it over and over and over and over again on my boombox. I would bring it to school, and I just thought I was the man. I carried this boombox around, and I had no concept that I might look like an idiot. And one day, before spring break, I was getting ready to leave gym class. I was dressed in my San Francisco Unified School District, beautiful navy and gold, and I wasn't allowed to go to the bathroom that day by my gym teacher. And I watched a lot of MTV, and I'd watched a lot of the freestyle battles on BET, and I don't know what came over me, but at this moment, I decided that this would be the moment for me to show Mr. Minchell not only that I could freestyle battle rap really well, but to use that as a way to tell him that I felt oppressed by the fact that he wouldn't let me go to the bathroom. So I put my boombox down, I started playing Nelly Ride With Me, and I started freestyle battling at Mr. Minchell. You guys saw the freeze earlier, so you have a context for what I'm talking about. Except unlike the freeze, it wasn't positive and collaborative, it was aggressive and antagonistic. So, I mean, next thing I know, the bell rings, I go up to my algebra class, and about 15 minutes into algebra class, the phone rings on the wall. And just to let you know what kind of kid I was, anytime the phone rang in one of my classrooms, I get this deep sense of dread, usually justified that I was the reason that the phone was ringing. And I was right. The phone was ringing, and Mr. Sadrakian called me down to the principal's office. He said, "George, they'd like to see you." So I go down there. It must have been more than 15 minutes, because by the time I got to the principal's office, there were 3 uniformed police officers and the principal and the vice principal in the room. And I was informed that Mr., I'm not going to say his name, that would be very rude, that gym teacher was too shocked and disturbed to actually see me face to face, so that he wasn't going to be able to talk to me. But what was happening was I was being suspended. I was read my Miranda rights. I was sat down in a chair, and I was told that I'd threatened the life of, which is obviously a felony and against San Francisco Unified School District policy. So, rightfully so. I don't think that they had a subcategory for threats that were made in a freestyle battle, a one-sided freestyle battle, albeit. So, I was suspended for a week and a half. I was taken off the honor roll. I wasn't allowed to speak at graduation, and I wasn't allowed to go on the class field trip. They were kind enough to not notify my high school that I was about to go to that this had happened. Otherwise, I probably would have been kicked out of there as well and not allowed to attend. But this had really changed the context for how I thought about speaking in public, and underscores to me that it's very important to choose your moments wisely. When I got to high school, I had an English teacher who was really, really wonderful my freshman year, and for all of the lessons that moment taught me, I'd still not completed some transformation from being this really, really loud and out there and annoying kid in the classroom. I still was that person when I got to my freshman year English class, and I would get kicked out of class, and I would get sat outside, and I'd basically get in trouble all the time for just calling attention to myself for no reason whatsoever. My English teacher said, "You should try this program called You Speaks. I'd like you to go, I'd like you to take a workshop there, see what you think." So my freshman year of high school, I started taking workshops at You Speaks, which, for those of you who don't know, is a nonprofit literary arts presenting organization that's actually right around the corner here. And I loved it. I'd never seen performance, I'd never seen writing be so immediate and so engaging for people my age. I went to workshops, I went to slams, I never looked back. And the more I participated and the more I had the spotlight shown on me in really appropriate times, the less I felt it was necessary to call attention to myself in really inappropriate times. And I went from this person who was really loud and really the class clown and always, basically always acting out, to somebody by my senior year of high school, I rarely spoke in class because I had this wonderful stage to shine a positive spotlight on myself. So I worked at USpeaks for a year after college, or after high school rather. I went to college, and it's become my full-time job, so it's really my mentors who gave me that opportunity, but I guess that is what I'd like to encourage you guys who are in the classroom to do, is find opportunities for your students to have that positive spotlight shown on them, particularly if they're problem kids, if they're acting out. It's not because they, are necessarily bad kids, but they just need the right situation to channel that focus and energy. And so that is kind of the story that I like to share with you guys. If you don't mind, I'd like to close with another poem and then gracefully exit the stage. Is that cool? All right, thank you. Clapping is permission. I appreciate it. This is a poem for anybody who's ever been made fun of for the way that they talk. So someone said to me the other day, I've got a lisp. A stranger said I've got a subtle lisp and I should know I sound a little stupid doing spoken word when all my words with S in them are spoken so absurd. Now, I'm not upset. Okay, it just sucks to think you're speaking normally for 2 decades and then shucks, find out your stuff sounds like a stanza of Severus Snape's toughest parcel tongue is pronounced by Daffy Duck. So I will say this. My subtle lisp is not sinful. I'm not sorry Saturday. I'm not sorry Sunday. I'm spiritual, and when I speak, I celebrate the Sabbath 7 days a week. I've got special S-sauce smothered on my skull walls like a tossed salad, so silkscreen the Sistine ceiling on my soft palate. I sing along with super scenesters reciting Sufjan Stevens songs in skinny jeans and dance salsa with soccer moms sneaking out in skimpy see-through sarongs. I will answer your questions in style with my sexy, subtly lisping, sparkling incisors smile. What's my surname? Watsky. My size, stocky. My city, San Francisco. Wit so sweet, now slow. See, I've heard some steamy stories, but I'm not stretching to say one time I made a lady swoon by speaking an essay section of a Shakespeare sonnet in her general direction. I scribble all S-S's, I shred them and sprinkle the all S ashes. My speech doesn't give a spotted sea snail. If it passes, I slip past straight F's to straight S's in my classes because my speech stays second semester senior status. I spit so sick. I spit sexier than Summer Sanders, Sarah Silverman, Susan Sarandon, Sissy SpaceX, Sally Struthers, and Selena spooning in a 6-way same-sex all-S celebrity civil union. So, you can slander the gay lisp, and I will slip you a solid list of friends who lisp or no lisp will stomp, spit, stay pissed, and start all over on the racists. You can save the South Korean stereotypes, the Sambo shtick, the sexist stuff is sickening, and if you suppose your speech is normal, it's because your impediment is listening. Speak for those of us with something special, something that sets us aside from my accent havers, my stammerers, my southerners, my stutterers, yes, I will spit it sick and stick to never skipping S because I was sucking on a soup spoon and a suckle that is sterling, silver, simple, supple, super sucker, staying, watching, sister, seeing each syllable, scummy, esophagus, smoother than sisyphus, suffer, and succotash, isolate, autumn, see there's no stopping this to start the steps to speaking me, so see that I will not desist, I'm sorry, San Francisco, if you don't like a subtle lisp, but you can simply suck on this. Thank you.